Are you ready for some football? Some sweet, sweet Monday night football. We back like the Chicago Bears. Too soon, too soon. Tonight, what did we just witness? In rainy St. Louis, Mauricio and the Pochettinis followed up their quite weird 1-0 win in Jamaica, in which the Poch matched Greg Berhalter's total of road wins in Concacaf play at 1. He's magic, you know. But then laid down a marker. He said we need to improve in all the areas. And tonight, we saw a lot of that. The dominating, potent, overwhelming performance that we've honestly yearned for since Pochettino was appointed. A 4-2 victory in which player after player stepped up to deliver a moment of almost improvised wonder in the spotlight. A bit like watching a great jazz sextet rip off solo after solo into the wee small hours. And to break it down, I am not here on my own. I'm here to celebrate it with a great jazz aficionado and a great friend of mine, legendary midfield pitbull, one of my favourite gents in American football history, former US men's national team icon, also a terrific podcaster, host of Major League Journeyman with the great Alan Gordon, also Dan Gargan, available wherever you get your podcast. It's a joy to welcome from your Messi slaying Atlanta United. It's the Ginger Lion in winter. It's Mr. Dax McCarty.
Raj, how we doing, man? That was brilliant. What an introduction.
Did I just butcher Gargan's name?
You did. That gave me a really nice chuckle.
What is it? Is it French? Is it Gargan? Gargan. Gargan.
You're American. Try to sound as American as possible.
Gargan. Dan Gargan.
Just the fact that you introduced such a legend in Alan Gordon, and then it was, and Dan Gargan.
Yeah, I didn't know what to say. I'm just like, genuinely, Alan Gordon, knowing words is like blowing my mind. But can I ask you, Dax, hard-hitting question first. You are very, very tight with Atlanta United captain, leader, legend, Mr. Bradley Guzan. I don't know if he's done the 23andMe this week, but is he actually Lionel Messi's father?
He very well could be. He could be. He could be the father of a lot of Inter Miami players.
He is. He is now Luis Suarez's dad. He is. I love that. But anyway, can I ask you, when he got pushed into the back of the net and then had Luis Suarez laugh full on in his face, why did you not run back to steam in and lay one on him? Was it because you know Guzan can just take care of himself? He's that handy.
It is. And I know if I run on the field and take care of business the way that you know and I know I could against Mr. Suarez, well, when we advanced, I'd be missing the next round, this conference semifinal against Orlando. And I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to miss such a glorious moment. But I knew Brad would be able to handle himself. And that was quite a moment. That will live on in my memory forever.
I know. I genuinely, when I close my eyes and go to sleep at night, I do see Bradley Guzan laughing in Luis Suarez's face. Quick follow-up, obvious one. Brad Guzan versus Jake Paul. Who wins?
Brad Guzan in a knockout, first round.
Yeah. By the way.
Look, Brad doesn't pillow fight. And by the way, I didn't watch the fight. Brad doesn't pillow fight. If he's coming for you with those big bear claws, he's coming for you.
Brad Guzan don't pillow fight. I love that. That's a t-shirt. I want to see that at the Orlando game on a huge tifo. Brad Guzan don't pillow fight, trademark. You know what? I could talk about this for a long time because I do love Brad Guzan. He is one of the loveliest human beings in the game, and his success coming back from that injury and just thriving again. He who laughs last in Luis Suarez's face laughs longest. Honestly, could talk about that forever, but we got to get to this game. And remember, Dax and I are not here alone. It is a Do It Live, which means you, dear GFOPs, can be a massive part of this show. Come on and ask us questions about what we've just seen, the US, Poch, Pulisic, all of it. Just scan the QR code in the top left of your screen. I'm pointing to it right now. I'll take you into a Zoom with our producer, Tony, who will get you set up to ask your question. This Do It Live is brought to you by our good friends at PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Play $5, get $50 instantly when you use code MIB. So come and be with me. We're live on YouTube, but do not be afraid. You'll be audio only. You know how it works. Get in now. slap your comments in the side here in the chat. We'll read the best ones out. Give us a like. And also subscribe to this YouTube so you do not miss a single thing we do. Just come and be with us on this night of nights, the last night that the US men play football in 2024. Kim in the chat says simply, we back. It's true, Kim. Quidfish in the chat says, how many beers, fam? And the answer's not enough. Jay Kookie says, what a Letterman jacket. Please be buried in that fabulous garment to your next journey. Jake, you know what? It might be sooner than we all imagine, but let's not talk, not about me, but about the football in St. Louis against Jamaica. 1-0 down, weakened by injury and suspension and absence. No turf excuses for the US tonight. Nowhere to hide. The lineup, Dax as strong as could be. Tim Weah back from Copa red card suspension. Weston McKennie dropped deep. Tanner Tessmann alongside him in a midfield double pivot. We wanted to see the dominance. We wanted to see an American performance. We want to see the uplift that Pochettino represents symbolically to us when he arrived. And I've got to say, inside 4 minutes, almost a perfect start. Anthony Robinson setting up Tim Weah, cut inside hungrily from the left, burrowed his way into the box, fell backwards as he dove, tantalisingly slapping the ball off the left post. I mean, this was if you were on that team, on that field, would you just look at each other and be like, my God, this is a signal of intent?
Yeah, I would. It was a fantastic first half. And that opening play that you described in the third, fourth minute, whatever it was, I mean, that was a little bit of a harbinger of things to come, right? I mean, the fluidity that we saw with that U.S. team in the first half, Raj, I mean, I got goosebumps. It felt like we were watching a real high-quality side and a real high-quality performance. And I feel like we've lacked that in the last couple of years.
When you say high-quality, King Dax, what do you mean? What were you saying, professional footballer to professional footballer? Because we'll get to the goals.
I saw an understanding of roles. I saw a clarity of ideas on the field. I saw a clarity of patterns, of what – you can tell Pochettino is working on with these guys in training. And for me, it was funny because in the first couple minutes of the game, I thought, okay, I can see clearly now what they are trying to accomplish. And a lot of it is going to be accomplished down this left-hand side. And the left-hand side of the field with the little tactical wrinkles that we saw, the most, I think, alarming one and the most prominent one being Anthony Robinson going into the Trent Alexander-Arnold inverted fullback role into the midfield. I gotta say, I'm a little. I don't know how to feel about it. I'm a little shocked. I'm a little taken aback. And it turned out quite well for the U.S. And we can go a little bit deeper into this, but that for me was something we noticed right away. Was Anthony Robinson in the middle of the field.
I do want to say, when you said I can see clearly now, I genuinely thought you were going to go all Jimmy Cliff on us, full on. Now the rain is gone. I can see all the obstacles in my way. That's what it felt like watching the U.S. For the first time in a long time. They could see the obstacles that are in their way. Gone are the dark clouds that left me blind. They could see their way and they understood with confidence, collective team play. You mentioned Anthony Robinson. The way he set up one of the best in-form left-backs in the Premier League right now, playing, I don't know how you'd describe it. He started off almost in the centre circle. Was he Dax? What would you call him? Was he inverted left-back? Was he centre midfielder? Was he false DM?
He was a left fullback defensively and by all accounts a central midfielder when we had the ball, when we were in possession. And I got to say, it was a stroke of genius in this particular game. Now, the caution that I would signal going forward is that Jamaica was very poor, and they had really no clue what they were doing defensively. So Anthony Robinson was comfortable. He's a Premier League player. He has no issues going in there into the middle of the field against a team like Jamaica. But I say this very cautiously. Playing against better teams, I don't know if that is going to work.
Don't take away our happiness by talking facts. Don't come here with your rational points on this night of emotion. You're not wrong. When we play better teams, there's no way that we're stationing our left back in the centre. But when we're on a night, Dax, where you are dropping Jimmy Cliff lines, that son of St. James Colony of Jamaica, I mean, that is a sign that when even you're dropping Jimmy Cliff lines, Jamaica had very little to give. It was to me watching a Poch tactical flourish, really one of confidence, saying you just step in there, break up the Jamaican counter with your intelligence and your speed, revel in your own aura. And by the way, he was unafraid to charge into space too. He didn't just stay in that centre circle. He wasn't like watching David Beckham for the Galaxy. He left the centre circle. He would burst forward. There was just, I don't know about, I mean, what you've said is true. There was such an awareness of space, of movement, of each other, that I really admired in that first half. It was really just a self-awareness to match the self-confidence of the US boys.
It was very fluid. It was very fluid, and it was very clear. The roles were very clear. And Christian Pulisic, he looks fantastic. He looked very comfortable in the middle of the field. Him and Tim Weah, the way that they link up and the way that they combine is very fun to watch. And Tim Weah, by the way, he is essential to this U.S. team. He provides dynamism. He provides directness. He speeds the game up for the U.S. in a way that not a lot of their other wingers do. And he's just, he's a killer. He wants to be by the goal. He wants to go to the goal. He wants to combine. He wants to create chances. When he's not involved in the play, you almost find yourself wanting and yearning them to get him the ball because you know that he will make something happen positively.
So true. I mean, he is like watching one of those 1970s kind of hard-boiled police movies like The French Connection in a car chase where they speed the cars up. They just make the film go faster. When he gets on the ball, it looks like the film is moving faster. My God, the team play. Exhibit A, when Weston McKennie got on the ball deep on the right flank, just kind of trundled forward, then looked up, and he knew. I mean, they played together forever for this US team. He knew Pulisic would be charging on. The ball held up beautifully in the air as it arced. Christian timed his run quite stunningly. Not a lot of defending, it needs to be said, but I don't want to be a downer. Let's not talk about the lack of defending. Let's just say that ball arc, Christian just dropped right onto his left foot, totally neutralised the goalkeeper, finished with a first-time flip across his body. It was stunning. I mean, if this is Poch ball, I think I like it, Dax.
And do you know the best part about that goal, Raj, is that there was a directness about it. And there was a directness with a purpose. I think in the past with US teams, when we run out of ideas, the general plan that I have seen is get the ball wide, cross it into the box. That is always low percentage. That's a low percentage effort on goal. But with this US team, you could see that they were very methodical in their buildup. If they couldn't break Jamaica down with quick 1-2 touch passing, then they were patient. They drew them out. And I love the goal because it's a semi-transition moment, right? The U.S. had a little bit of success breaking them down, but they invited them out. They got their lines up the field. They found Weston McKennie in a great pocket of space. And I think we've seen from Weston, especially throughout the last couple of years at Juve, he has fantastic vision. And sometimes he just tries stuff and it works. And the ball that he played into Christian was perfectly weighted. Christian playing as a 10, it gives him that freedom to float and find the game at his feet, but he's not stuck out on the wing. And he can go find the game and he can drop deep and then he can make those runs in behind. And you could tell that Jamaica, of course, they're a little bit discombobulated, but when he's in midfield, the back line thinks he's going to be tracked by a midfielder. And so when he sprints by the central midfielder of Jamaica, the right fullback is pulled out of position. Damian Lowe has to follow Pepe's run. And then you see Christian Pulisic ghosting in on the back post. I mean, it's a truly beautifully well-crafted goal. And I tell you, it's one that we haven't seen a ton of. It reminds me of the goal that he scored. I can't remember what the competition was. It might have been the Gold Cup, but Walker Zimmerman, that blonde-haired beauty, played him a beautiful ball in behind, a long ball. I think they were in Kansas City, and he scored. It wasn't on one touch, but there's something with a purpose and a directness about that goal that I really appreciate.
I love that phrase that you came up with, directness with purpose. That's what we saw tonight. Pulisic did the Trump dance, which, by the way, if Alexi Lalas ran FIFA, I believe would make the goal count at least double. It was the 32nd goal of his international career in his 76 cap. 23rd goal in competitive matches, which equals, this is amazing, already the iconic Brian McBride for fourth most in team history. It's just 26.
Incredible.
Just this 26. I mean, he's equal with Josie Altidore for third most total in team history. So let me ask you, Dax, you're a young man, but you're old enough to have played against Clint. You've seen Landon bald with your own eyes. And now you're watching Christian. Again, Christian just 26 years old. So where do you place Christian Pulisic ranking in the best outfield male player America's ever produced, debate?
Oh, he's easily in the top 3. You just mentioned the other 2.
Yeah, that's a cold take. Easily in the top 3.
I would say that in my opinion, he's past Clint and he's right on the cusp of passing Landon as well. And the reason I say that is because he has accomplished things at his age that very few U.S. players have ever done. And Clint was a late bloomer. I think we all know that. But Clint, it was such an easy guy to root for and such a fun guy to play with because he just tried stuff and he didn't care. And I think that Landon was the opposite. Landon was just a supremely gifted, talented player who was a killer, and he could beat you scoring goals or getting assists. And I think Christian is this fun hybrid of both of those guys. And I think it has to be said that Christian's ceiling, especially the way he's playing now, the form that he's in, the confidence he's playing with at his age, he is going to break all Landon's records. And I can say that with confidence. And so, right now, I think Landon still has that mantle of best U.S. men's player of all time. But Christian, if he hasn't surpassed him yet, he is well on his way.
Ashania Shella in the chat says, today's for celebrating. It's not for realism. By the way, I should have that printed out on a pennant. That is, life is for celebrating. It's not for realism, Asha. But, I've got to say, for me, Landon's the original. If you know your rock and roll history, like the first rock and roll star, Bill Haley, pioneered rock and roll, but rarely played in Europe. I'm talking about Landon, not Bill Haley. Bill Haley took his piano everywhere. But I'd say Landon is an American great at a time when we dreamed, but were not really able to, soar abroad en masse. He was a big fish in a small pond, a very, very big fish. That goal against Algeria in the World Cup, one of the greatest football moments in our nation's history on the men's side. But what Christian has done consistently in Europe now for club and now for country, to me, it's just a different level than Landon experience in a consistent way. If Landon is Bill Haley, like these are greats. They're all greats. One's greatness doesn't detract from another. Pulisic really is, I don't know, what is Pulisic? If Landon is Bill Haley, what is he? Is he Harry Styles? He really is Elvis. It is like the first world class gentleman. Please God, don't become Vegas Elvis, Christian. Is all I will tell you. Sean McGuire in the chat says Pooley has a much better team behind him, which is fair from a footballing perspective. You tell us what you think. I am quite fascinated by this. I do also believe Clint is a great... Clint was a sniper. Clint took the ball.
He was.
Just sort of about shooting, right? I mean, it was just like, where's my shot? Where's my shot?
Yeah.
He was just a sniper. Par X. He was Barry. He was Pepe in the Bell Tower in Saving Private Ryan. That's what he was. They're just very. And I love the overlap between Clint and our boy Christian. Just that 33-year-old Clint still playing alongside 16, 17-year-old Christian when he came through. But they are very different footballers, right?
They are. And the thing I love about Christian is that, he's a really nice guy. And he's a pretty soft-spoken guy in general. I was able to play with him in a lot of U.S. camps in 2017 there when we were getting called into all the World Cup qualifiers. And he's a really soft-spoken guy. He's a really humble guy. But he's got an edge. He plays with an edge to him that he got from Clint. And I think that if you were to ask Christian, I think he probably would say he leans more towards he plays like Clint. He likes to try stuff. and he doesn't care about if it comes off or it doesn't come off. He has the quality to pull off extremely high-level, world-class plays. But to be honest, with how well-rounded he is, he has a lot of Landon in him too, which is why I say he's a hybrid of a little bit of both of them, right? And so, look, I like you said, comparison is a little bit the thief of joy. And so we're always going to be the ones that have to compare and contrast all these great players. But for me, what Christian has accomplished already in his mid-20s you can argue he's still not even entered his prime yet. And he's already won the Champions League. He's already won, the German Cup. And he's already played for some world-class teams at the highest level, multiple Champions League appearances. You'd have to say that his club career far exceeds any U.S. player to ever live, men's player, easily. And that's not even really a debate. But as far as national team contribution, if that is the barometer, then Landon, he still has – I think Landon is the all-time leader in world football for men's soccer in assists. I mean, think about that for a second. I mean, that's an unbelievable accomplishment. And I don't doubt and I don't hesitate to say that Christian will get there, because I think he will. I think Christian has at least 8 more years playing at the very top level of international soccer. There's no doubt in my mind.
8 more years. Tim Ream, he's got 87 more years. Let's be candid. By the way, they're all second to Kyle Beckerman. I do need to acknowledge
Legend.
that. And I think, can we agree, America, objectively the greatest men's player that we've ever created? Pulisic seemed to score the second. I think the commentators spent an awful long time giving it to him, far more than I've ever seen before. Weston McKennie pulled the ball back from the byline. It was Tanner Tessmann, quite beautifully selling a dummy, let the ball sail through to Christian, who prodded home off a fat deflection. Ultimately correctly ruled by Concacaf as an own goal.
You hate to see that. I didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, God, they do like facts. Even Concacaf do like facts. If you don't move enough money from one account to another via Venmo, that's how it happens. They stick to the facts of football rather than the myths. But Christian, when I look at him, last thing on Christian tonight, he is a player, Dax, who needs to be loved to thrive.
Yeah.
I mean, do you know footballers like that they are brilliant or terrible depending on whether they are loved and can love in return?
Yeah, they're mostly attacking players. They need the love. They need love. That's just a fact. You will never, ever hear a defender or a defensive midfielder care about being loved or not. It just doesn't happen. If you're amazing. An attacker, you need love and you need your ego stroked and massaged. And if you don't get that, you're pissed off all the time. I've seen it 100 times, and it is a fact. But guess what? If you do love them and you do show them the proper amount of guidance and love and balance and challenge them in the right ways, then you're going to get what you get with Christian. You're going to get a guy who is playing the best soccer of his career. And it's fantastic to see all the people eat crow who thought that this move to AC Milan wasn't going to be a fantastic move for him. I think you never know. I mean, going from Chelsea to AC Milan, going from the Premier League to Serie A, the comparisons and everyone wanting to have their opinion. He just wanted to get back to enjoying soccer again. Like you could tell he wasn't himself in England, and you could tell that he wasn't getting in my opinion, the run in the games that he should have gotten.
I mean, he constantly had to prove himself.
Yeah,
constantly proved himself, and then suddenly was third in the depth chart. 3 or 4 times had to prove himself again. I love that.
It was insane.
Dax, I do love that you're saying defensive midfielders. Arsene Wenger once said to me, if you love to win, you are an attacker. If you hate to lose, you become a defender. I love your thing, which is like, if you're insecure, you become an attacker. If you're completely self-confident in who you are, you play further and further back in.
And by the way, if you have less talent and skill than these attackers, yes, you get moved back.
And by the way, and if you're filled with self-loathing and can't play at all, you become a podcaster. Yes, that's how the rules work. Sully Griffin says Anthony Robertson is the second best American scout next to Rog. Just to be clear, Trent Alexander-Arnold is the greatest Scouse American of all time. Anthony Robinson, I think I have him at second. I have me at about number 87. Maybe I think I've dropped a few places recently. Ray G in the yes.
You're higher than that.
I'm the worst. Ray G in the chat. Big Virginia Tech fan says, if Christian Pulisic becomes Vegas Elvis, just be careful when you go to the toilet, love. Pulley 68 comeback special in the leather is going to be epic. At the other end of the scale, just mention him. It was lovely to watch my friend Tim Ream. Need to give him a shout out. Captain the team, the American team on home turf. That must have felt amazing knowing Tim back in St. Louis. Gent is 38, Dax, playing on a team quite bereft of experience and leadership. Dax, let me remind you, Tim's age. Dude is a year younger than you. Does any part of you... He's 38. He's 38, isn't he?
I thought he was 37.
I'm going to Google him while you answer this question.
Does any part of you watch 1987s?
Really?
Could be wrong.
Does any part of you watch Tim and think, I got one more in me?
My brain tells me yes, and my heart tells me no. And to be completely honest, the brain is, I've headed a lot of soccer balls in my day, so I don't always think clearly. But yeah, I watched him play, and I think, if you put Tim in midfield, he might feel the way I do about retirement. But when you put him in the back line, he's like a left-footed Michael Parkhurst. The way he reads the game, the way he makes it easier for his teammates around him, the way that he tries to not put himself in situations where he is going to be in one-on-one situations or foot races or physical battles with people bigger, stronger, faster than he is. He's just a total soccer player, man. He's a total footballer. And I spent a little bit of time with him at Red Bull, and you could tell that even when he was young, you could tell he was an old soul. And you could tell that he was going to have a nice, long career. And now he needs to be studied in some sort of Harvard study, how he has started to play the best soccer of his career at our age is something that
I think there's a reverse Freddie Adu going on with him.
I think so.
I think Freddie Adu was like 14, but he was really 57. I think Tim Ream is currently, because he is an 87 like you. You're right, but I think he's an 1887, and you're a 1987. And the reality is, I think genuinely there is a Benjamin Button thing going on with that man. I love watching it. He is a great American, and he's enjoying knowing Tim. He's loving every single second. Ponce de Leon, honestly, searching for the fountain of youth. Little did he know it's located at centre-back. The US buzzing, relaxed football suddenly, fearless. This is it. It was fearless football, yes, in style, but honestly, because there was not a lot to fear here. We do need to acknowledge Jamaica, quite bereft. Ethan Pinnock out. There was Mason Holgate suspended. And then this story, the quite insane Mikel Antonio and Kaheem Dixon, both unable to travel to the United States due to lost passports, which is so Concacaf, it actually hurts. With the United States
passports.
Yes, we've all been there. Anyone that's in a relationship has had their lost passport moment where it makes no sense at all. But it's all
sorry, sweetie, I can't get back home. I've got to spend a week on the beach while they process a new one.
Yeah, lost passport. It's lost again.
Tale as old as time.
What I'm trying to say, Dax, were the United States good, or were Jamaica just woeful?
Raj, I think two things can be true. And in this particular case, two things are true. The U.S. was brilliant. Let's not take away from that. Someone was talking about raining on parades earlier. I'm not raining on any parades. I had a lot of fun watching the U.S. tonight, the most fun I've had in a long time. I thought they played with clarity. I thought they played with quality. I thought they played with an edge, with a killer instinct. I thought they were fluid. And I thought they were way too much for Jamaica. And on the other side of it, Jamaica were just all over the place. And when I think I undersold maybe how much quality they were missing. Honestly, I didn't know about all the players that they were missing. But you could tell they were overmatched from the first whistle. And that's something that it doesn't always happen in CONCACAF. I'm really happy that the U.S. came out and jumped all over a team quickly, because we've seen a ton of times that it doesn't always happen. I mean, we saw it down in Jamaica, bad field. We probably should have drawn that game. Jamaica probably should have got something out of that game. And so to put them to the sword early, to get the crowd into it before the weather got bad after halftime, to just have a really, really strong first half like that, I think it allayed a lot of concerns and fears, even though I'm sure, we weren't too worried about Jamaica. I mean, that was a really strong performance. And I think one that Pochettino is going to use going forward as kind of the benchmark of what is to be expected about this for this team going forward.
It would get worse for Jamaica. Pepe pressing the keeper, forcing Blake to dump the ball right into the US gut. Ball played instantly back to Pepe on the edge of the area, got the ball out from under his feet. He actually had Pulisic to slip in for what in the moment before Concacaf had pulled the second goal away would have been his hat-trick, but Pepe's like, sod it, I'm the man, and just thrash. Fourth goal in 5 games against Jamaica, 3 straight games with a goal for Ricardo Pepe under Pochettino. My man Hurt Gomez tweeted, PSV Eindhoven are going to have to make a decision soon. You can't keep him off the field for long. Play him or sell him. Dax, Pepe, 21 years old and soaring. Is Ricardo Pepe now the starting number 9 that the United States has cried out for?
Yes, he should be. That's my opinion. I think, and I don't think it's just recency bias. I think that this has, honestly, I mean, I feel like it's been difficult for him to get on the field with PSV. And so when that is the case, it's easy for a manager to leave him out of the national team. So that's an easy decision. But I think you're seeing now with Pepe, he's starting to mature. He's starting to fill out a little bit. He's starting to understand link-up play. He's starting to understand how to play with his teammates on the national team. And for me, when a chance falls to a striker, and this is the best thing I can say about someone, when a chance falls to a striker, you want to have the feeling of confidence that they are going to bury it. You have that feeling with Pepe. You have that feeling that he can make something happen out of nothing, and he can make a chance happen almost out of nothing. And the ball, he almost feels like he has a little bit of that beautiful man, Chris Wondolowski, a little bit of the Chris Wondolowski factor, where if the ball is in a position to be put in the net, he is going to score. I don't want to talk about the World Cup. We don't need to talk about that. We don't need to talk about the 2014 World Cup. But with Pepe, he is so dynamic. He's fast, he's strong, he's agile, he has good movement, and he's a great finisher. So listen, I think Balogun is a fantastic player. I think Balogun is not going away anytime soon. I think Pochettino, quite frankly, in certain formations is going to want to, I think, experiment a little bit with two strikers up top. But as of right now, if he's playing with one striker up top, Pepe has to be the name on the team sheet.
God, that was a very odd wander into Wondolowski, whom I love as a human being. That's like saying David Hasselhoff would never drunkenly lie on the floor topless chasing a cheeseburger. I don't want to talk about that one time he did that. I don't want to do it, but God bless. Apart from that part, I'm with you utterly. I do think Ricardo Pepe has earned it. It's his job to lose. Second half, Jamaica got themselves on the score sheet. Damari Gray went all crouching tiger, hidden Damari. By the way, Matt Turner's clean sheet gone. The most un-Everton finish from a former Everton player, but it was mere prelude. Anthony Robinson started a move. Pulisic, Musa stunningly floated the ball deep, and then Tim Weah swooped upon it and with confidence, chutzpah and technique kind of poke blasted a total banger. Please, Hammer, don't hurt him. Dax, how does it feel to hit a ball so sweetly?
I wouldn't know. I have to imagine it feels quite good, and especially for Tim Weah. How about a little bit of redemption, maybe? I know. Listen, I know the most cynical of fan and the most, I think, strong beer halter hater fan would say that he did
just
the
call
US
him beer halter.
Yeah,
I like that. How did they never work in the Michelob Ultra a sponsorship with beer halter? That would have been immense.
I know people were quite pleased that it was kind of the nail in his coffin. But I don't think Tim Weah saw it like that. I think Tim Weah saw it like he let his team down in a rash moment where he saw red. And that doesn't feel good when that happens, when you let your team down in that moment, because you want to win every competition you're in. And so a moment of redemption for him. He's in great form with Juventus. He, for me, is the wild card on this U.S. team. You know what you're going to get out of Jedi Robinson. You know what you're going to get out of Pulisic. You're starting to see a pattern with what you're going to get out of Pepe. If Tim Weah is on form, that gives you another really, really dangerous player in the attack that will take a little bit of pressure off Christian, that he doesn't have to carry the load every single game, because it kind of starts to feel like that at times. It starts to feel like Christian is just wearing this burden on his shoulders of all the assists and all the goals and all the creative power, right? If you have a guy like Tim Weah in good form on the field, it gives another person for the defense to have to respect. And to see him score tonight, it was almost cathartic. You could almost see it was like, I'm free of this memory of what happened in Copa America, and now we can move forward. And I think he's going to be a massive part of this team going into the 2026 World Cup.
I hope so. I really, really do. This was now, honestly, it was like being at a Pochettino rager, just an open mic night. Every US player taking their turn to just take a bow in the spotlight. I love watching Yunus Musa, such a, at this point, an unheralded talent. Not normally thought of as a right winger, but my God, I thought it was so stunning tonight. His passing, which a lot of people knock, I thought was quite tantric. Very quickly, because I want to get to the questions here, Dax, but who was your player? Not one of the big, the obvious, but who caught your eye, Dax McCarty, watching the United States tonight?
Well, as a proud member of the Central Midfielders Union, I have to go with Tanner Tessmann. Quite honestly, I didn't know a ton about him. I've seen him play a little bit when he was over at Venezia, a couple highlights, and he looked like a good player, but he was really impressive for me. And there's something about seeing a big man move through the midfield and have such a calm presence about him. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like a right-footed prime Nemanja Matic. There's just something about his technical ability in tight spaces. He's proficient with both feet, right foot, left foot. He keeps it moving. He plays simple. And I love his range of passing. His range of passing is something for me that we have missed in the midfield a little bit. Listen, Weston is a great passer, but I think Weston also prefers to be on the end of passes in the box. I don't think he always prefers to be the one playing them. So if you have a deep-lying player who's a little bit of a different mold than a Tyler Adams, I think that against these smaller teams that you're going to have a lot of possession, a Tanner Tessmann type who's comfortable on the ball, who sees the game forward, who wants to play forward, who wants to break lines, who wants to get the ball to his attacking players. This is the type of player that I think we've been missing. And I think he played great tonight. I think his dummy for the goal that Christian scores, the second one, is just unbelievable awareness. Not a lot of players would know to dummy the ball to your best player. And obviously Christian doesn't hit it great, but look, if Tessmann, if he tries to strike it, the angle's not great for him. It probably doesn't end up in the back of the net. So really impressive performance from him. I can't wait to see more.
I love his confidence. I mean, there's no self-doubt about his presence. He completely and utterly believes or projects that he believes that he should be there. And he gave that dummy a little bit of the Birmingham, Alabama stanky leg. Damari Gray scored a second, too little, too late. 69th minute, nice. Pulisic and Weston McKennie subbed off together. They'll be playing against each other this weekend. Opposite sides of the field. Juventus will play at AC Milan this weekend. Fascinating to see Bruce Arena and Greg Berhalter looking on from a box like the ghosts of Christmas past. GFOP at Carly on these Spurs said that they were like showing up at your ex's workplace, which is quite something. By the way, how much must they have killed Greg that his sneakers are obscured by the wall of that box? We'll never know. But let me ask you, what is the main difference between this team under Greg Berhalter and this team under Poch that you've seen in the first couple of games of the Pochettino era?
Well, it's early, and quite honestly, Raj, I would love to see the U.S. play some stronger opponents before making any sweeping conclusions. But the one thing that I can tell already is that it seems Pochettino will not be as rigid tactically as Greg was. There was so much fluidity in the U.S. and how they played with the ball, and it was fun. It was fun to watch. You saw the players raise their level in this game tonight, and they were expected to. And there was just almost an ease at which they were playing, and it seemed like they were fluid. They were at ease with their roles. And it seemed like they were having fun. I mean, God, when was the last time you can say that about a U.S. team? It just seemed like they were enjoying themselves out there. And there were times where there were 5, 6 players in the attack, and you had the 2 center backs and Tanner Tessmann there, and Jedi Robinson there, and they were within 30 yards of Jamaica's goal. And that's how modern soccer is. That's how the best teams play. They play in the opponent's half constantly. They repress, they go win the ball back, they create another chance, and they finish.
When was
plays.
The last time the US had fun? I mean,
it just seemed like they had fun.
They did. I mean, this was belief, this was confidence. The result was never in doubt. There was no fear. Last question before we take questions. I mean, this was just wonderful to watch tonight. We needed this. I think we did. I won't be clear. Jamaica were terrible. Let's put this into perspective. It's the last time I'll say that. Let's lose our minds. This was a lost game of 2024 for this team. Year which began with Greg Berhalter at the helm, talking about leading his team to Copa America wonder on home turf, making noise in that tournament. Ended with the team really self-sabotagingly, self-soilingly, crapping about. I'd say with the nation watching, but the nation was not yet watching. That was the greatest pain, I think, of the year. They had an opportunity to make America care, and we didn't even get there. Almost left fighting in the wait to prove itself to itself. And now, under the leadership of Mauricio Pochettino, the greatest manager on paper that this program's ever had. We would not have believed January 1st if I told you that. Oh, by the way, we're going to win the year with Mauricio Pochettino as our manager. We would never have known. I mean, it's insane. This is football, like life. It's totally unpredictable. I think that's its wonder. We're now 570 days away from the World Cup being held right here, Dax, on home turf. So where are you emotionally on the end of an eventful year in terms of all that is to come? Give us, I'm asking, I guess, for perspective, which is a crazy thing for US fans because we have 2 gears and 2 gears only, which are we are terrible, we are the worst, fire everybody, and why are they even holding a World Cup? Just give us the damn trophy now, we're that good.
I'm cautiously optimistic, bordering on extremely excited. I'm giving you a spectrum there because there's so much about this team to love, and there's so much about this team that I think we haven't seen yet because we just haven't seen them have a signature win. We haven't seen them play at a level that, in my opinion, will make me go, we have a chance to make real noise at the World Cup. And so why I'm optimistic? Because of how they played tonight. They had fun. They created chances. They were fluid. Why I'm cautious about it? It's Jamaica, and it's Jamaica missing half their team because they wanted to spend more time on the beach away from their wives. So, with that being said, think about this team with a healthy Gio Reyna, with a healthy Tyler Adams, with a healthy Chris Richards. I mean, the possibilities are endless, and that's the fun thing for me is that I look at this team and I think, yes, we have depth. We have quality, but when we put all the pieces together, and I think when Pochettino puts all the pieces together, you're going to be able to see something that we haven't seen for a number of years with this U.S. team, which is going on the field against a very strong opponent and actually dictating the game, actually being the team that brings the game to the opponent. Because for too long, we've seen the U.S. be the plucky underdogs, and I think with a guy like Pochettino, he sees our talent and he says, that's not going to be us anymore.
I mean, this is it. Flo Balogun, shoulder injury. Josh Sargent, groin injury. Hadji Wright, ankle injury. I mean, those are just the strikers. You mentioned Serginho, you mentioned Tyler, my friend.
Serginho Dest?
Wow. Yeah, Serginho Dest. I mean, there's a ton. Gio, Gio, God bless. Come back to us, Gio. I love this. I love the framing that you've got, and I know a lot of people will love your message tonight, Dax. We got to get to your questions. A reminder of how this works here on YouTube Live. You just have to scan the QR code top left of your screen, click on the pinned comment in the chat. You get into a Zoom with our producer Tony, who can tell you everything you need to know. Come and be with us. Some great questions lined up here. Let's start with the great Sully. Tell us where you are, Sully, and what your question is.
Raj and Dax, thank you so much. Raj, it's Sully from Massachusetts. You forgot me so quickly.
Where are you, Massachusetts? You've forgotten so quickly. Sully, I only think about you and you alone, but just remind the listeners. I'm thinking about the listeners. Where are you? Tell us where you are in Massachusetts, baby.
So I'm about 10, 15 minutes outside of Boston.
Where about?
I'm closer to New so I'm from Lowell, Massachusetts.
Oh, my God. Now. Oh, I've read On the Road. I know exactly where you are, baby. Tell us what your question is for the great Dax, and let's dive on in.
So I actually have, I'm hoping to squeeze a second question in, but my main question is, so I was very impressed with the Ricardo Pepe's performance in this window, and we have a lot of talent at the striker position. My question is, would you consider, if you were Poch, seeing, okay, well, I was going to see, obviously Flo Balogun would probably be the number one option, but I have a lot of flexibility. Would you consider maybe playing with two strikers up front and maybe having, two guys that can really attack and can really press from that position and can really make an opposing team give them fits? Would that be something that you would consider doing?
Dax? Why just two strikers, Sully's asking?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and it is something I would absolutely consider if I'm Pochettino. I think that, like Raj just mentioned, you've got a number of strikers actually that are injured right now, but before they were injured, in great form for their club teams, and I think actually play better with another striker up there next to them. And so the good part about this team in particular, in my opinion, is that you have a lot of players who have a lot of positional flexibility. Christian Pulisic being, example number one. You can play him in the midfield. You can play him as a 10. You can play him on the wing as a left winger. If you're playing against a team where you're going to have a lot of the ball and maybe that team has a weak right fullback, well, then you put Pulisic on the left and you let him run at him and you put two strikers in the box because you know that you're going to need to score goals. It's just, there's so many different possibilities and there's so many different options at striker. I really don't see how Pochettino doesn't experiment a little bit with two strikers up top, because I think we've seen some strikers operate really well when they're on their own as a solo number 9. And most of the time that's with a super creative, dynamic number 10, who is a guy who can create and play passes to them, and they have a really good connection. But most of the time, strikers thrive when they have someone else up there with them who's taking the other center back away, who's taking some attention away from the back line, right? And so I think Balogun is a wonderful player. I mentioned it a little bit earlier on this show that I would love to see, with the form Pepe's in, when Balogun gets back, if he can start to strike a rich vein of form, I think two strikers up top is something we absolutely need to see.
Would one of those strikers be Chris Wondolowski?
No. But
that's
a guy who can find goals like Chris Wondolowski could, yes, in Ricardo Pepe.
By the way, Ricardo Pepe and Sully, I am going to let you ask your second question, because you're right. Don't you forget about me. I didn't forget about you, but it felt like that optically, and I feel terribly. But the issue with Pepe, when I think about it, listening to Dax, it's almost like Balogun is like, for us as Premier League teams, when the new manager comes in and spends 80 million on a striker, they kind of feel like they need to keep playing that striker even when they're not scoring. And there's kids they've got. Chelsea have done this a lot recently, who've come through the youth academy, that don't get the minutes, and it's very, very, you're like, why are they not playing that kid? He's scoring all the time, and it's like the pressure on the manager, because he's, he's not just a player, but he spent 80 million on him. Ballet, as a nation, it almost feels like we spent money on Ballet. We haven't. but like we recruited him and we kind of stick with Ballo, where we take Pepe for granted. I mean, ultimately, Pepe's narrative is scoring goals. The middle of Pepe's narrative, the move to Augsburg, the darkness. By the way, then the resilience back at Groningen, that took incredible resilience. But he bailed out. If Hurt was here now, he'd tell this story again. He bailed out Greg Berhalter. Well, how does Hurt pronounce Berhalter? It's amazing.
Was that German?
He always pronounces Berhalter in the most amazing way, Herc, and I can't quite get it right because I'm terrible at impressions. Berhalter, always. And ultimately, Greg then shafted him for the World Cup. But it's almost like we take Pepe's goals for bloody granted. We need to stop taking what Pepe does for bloody granted. Just marvel at him, worship at the altar for the number of times he's bailed this nation out, and just say, you are the gent, everyone else should be fitting in around you. But Sully, what's your second question, you beautiful human being?
Thanks. That was great. Give us the two strikers up front and the midfield diamond, baby. I'm ready for it. My second question. So I have fallen in love with the USL Championship. I'm supporting Rhode Island, New England team. They're in the final in their first year of existence.
Amazing story.
Huge.
Amazing story.
It's huge. Right. Absolutely. And I know that there's USL Leagues 1 and 2. What is the likelihood of that we get a soccer, I don't know, I want to call it a league, a league that has relegation and promotion? Because I'm a huge Premier League fan, and I see how much it means for not just the England, but all over the world. And I look at the MLS, and it's so insulated. And I mean, it's getting Lionel Messi and all the great players that have come to Inter Miami, and you have got
Dax killed Lionel. Dax killed Lionel Messi.
I saw that. I saw that. That was
over,
murder.
Baby. It was a murder. It was a murder.
but I tried getting into the MLS, and I for some reason I just couldn't. I can't. It seems so. I don't know. I can't really just put it into words. But when I watch the USL, it gives me that hope that the game can get even bigger. And if I wanted to ask you what you thought about the league, and what you think about the relegation and promotion system, because it just the stakes get raised, and it means so much more to the fans, the players.
Sully, this is a hot potato question in every regard, and I don't want to. Moving on, but this is a night of US football wonder, and I love you. Like we will do it. We will do a special. Dax, hit this one quickly.
I'll give him a 20-second answer. So
please.
It's a great question, Sully, and honestly, listen, that's the beauty of fandom. You're entitled to follow what you love and what speaks to you and resonates with you. As a player, and I'm a player still for at least a few more weeks. I will tell you that every player would love to be a part of a system that had promotion and relegation. I mean, I would love it. But the truth is that for MLS, in order to survive, it was not sustainable. You could not have something like that. And so now what you're doing is you're asking owners who have hemorrhaged hundreds of millions of dollars to keep a league afloat to then voluntarily risk that investment, right? And so again, you're dealing with just so many different mechanisms here that the promotion relegation, for all the excitement that it provides, and I'm a huge fan of the Prem and the Bundesliga, it also takes away on the flip side of that with relegation, and you have a new number of clubs going under. And so the truth is that it's probably still very far away. You're going to have to get owners and people putting a lot of money into the sport to voluntarily concede those investments could potentially go to zero over, a season if you make some bad decisions, right? And so I hope we see it. I'm in full agreement with you. I hope we see it at some point. I just don't know if that's going to happen.
I agree. I mean, the reality is American football history has been one of boom and bust if you go back into the 1920s, and that's where we are living. And so economics becomes the massive reality that separates it from the rest of the world, where economics is also important, but in a different way. Suli, come on anytime. I promise I will remember where you are from in Massachusetts. And the Big L.
No problem, Raj.
Will.
Thanks for taking my question, guys.
Will, come on up, baby.
Cheers.
Tell us where you are and what's your question.
Hey, I am Will. I am from Huntsville, Alabama, and I have 2 questions for Mr. McCarty, one related to his day job and one tangentially related to the U.S. First off,
his day job as a podcaster with Dan Gang.
his other day job. How does it feel to be filling the shoes of one Mr. Jeff Larentowicz, a ginger midfielder and MLS legend, who is leading Atlanta United to an MLS Cup? And the second one, you see a young man every day in training, Mr. Noah Cobb. I would like to know how close you feel he is to joining this group of guys who will be representing the U.S. in 2026.
Great question. First things first, no one can ever step up and even come close to imitating or replacing Big Red, Jeff Larentowicz. He is a gentleman and a beast and a Brown University graduate with a massive brain on him. And so, no, I cannot fill those shoes. No one can. But the red hair and the midfield connection is undeniably there. People speak very highly of Jeff throughout the club. He's a legend in MLS. He's a winner. And look, I'm just trying to do my part to help, get to that type of status here in Atlanta. As far as Noah, tremendous player, unbelievable athlete. 2026 is probably a bridge too soon for him. I'm just being honest, and I think he would probably admit that as well. He has stepped up and played some very important games for us in Atlanta, and quite honestly, been extremely impressed with him. And he's an old soul. He's got a great head on his shoulders. He's an athletic specimen, a little bit undersized for a center back, but he makes up for it with how he reads the game and how athletic he is. So I'm a huge fan of his. I think he's got a really bright future ahead of him. Not for 2026. Just being real, I think he would probably agree. But yeah, he's a fantastic player. I'm excited to see where he goes.
God bless you. Asher, do the honors. You've been very patient. Tell us where you are and what's your question.
Hi, Raj. Oh, you beautiful human beings, you too. I just want to say that Dax too. My dad's a big fan, and as a ginger, I actually hate what you did to Messi on this weekend.
Where'd you live? Where'd you live, Asher? Where are you from?
West Milford, New Jersey. It's not really famous.
Is that into Miami territory?
It's just in the backwoods of it, actually, right around the
Fair enough.
My question to you guys: this being the 15th international break this season so far, as a Chelsea supporter, we have as for the men's team, we have a very successful women's team. But are we obligated to root for the women's team if we want to choose another team? Could we?
Holy crap. Asher,
Wow.
I've got to introduce you to a philosophical concept about free will. I'm going to say something that's going to blow your mind. Like, life is not predetermined. You are an individual. You have the ability to choose your own adventure. I loved what you just said.
I actually agree.
I love what Dax just said, and actually, I'm not mocking you anyway, because you're actually asking an amazing question. But I mean, one we hear in several forms. Actually, it's like we hear like when people are big Boston Red Sox fans and they fall in love with football, are they obliged to love Liverpool? That Dodgers fans, are they obliged to love? We hear that one too, and the honest truth is, I think football is about, and this is the reality of tonight. There was a comment that was very funny earlier. This is not about rationalism tonight. It's about dreaming, or whatever the phrase was. Football is ultimately about emotionalism. And I believe, and I guess you're asking for a certain reason. Chelsea women's story is kind of incredible. And Emma Hayes building it. What an incredible human being. What an incredible journey. And now Sonia Bonpastor winning her first 10 games in charge. Even more superlative. But Ash, whoever speaks to you, you should ultimately support his connection, a mutual sense of responsibility, caring, giving your time. Your time's so precious, Ash. It really is in life. Like all the football that we watch, you're making choices all the time. What am I doing? What am I not doing? Where am I investing my energy? And so a serious answer would be support who you want to support, who speaks to you, who thrills you, who elevates your spirits, who gives
Follow
you
your heart,
emotions
man.
that you love. Yeah. Go on, Dax, finish it off.
Even
here.
even if it's a Liverpool fan, which my dad is.
Wow, now you're complicating. Now you're complicating questions. But Dax, finish the question for me for the mighty great Ash.
I am a relatively long-suffering now Man United fan because as a young man, when I was growing up, I watched a young strapping midfield pit bull that had red hair by the name of Paul Scholes, who made me fall in love with Manchester United. That's it. That's the reason I became a Man United fan. And so whatever speaks to you, if there's a women's player that you love, that is fantastic, that you want to support and she plays for a team and you want to support them and you fall in love with that team, support that team. It doesn't matter. There's no rhyme or reason for sports, especially when it comes to fandom, when it comes to following your heart, when it comes to results. No one can tell you how to feel about anything. So follow your heart, man.
It's a one place where right and wrong doesn't exist. I do believe that, absolutely.
Right.
And I say that as a Chicago Bears fan. But God bless, Ash. Keep in touch. Let us know where that journey goes. I've loved tonight. I've loved listening to you, Dax. Really, really, really. It's been a great moment in MIB Do It Live chat history. I think it's the first time we've ever had two San Jose Quakes fans finding each other in the chat and debating the merits and demerits of Bruce Arena as their new manager. Joe Seiden and Matt Murphy, we see you, we love you, we feel for you. This is what life is all about and why we're here. Dax, you are a beautiful human being. I got to say that I felt like before we did this, I feel like even more by like 1,000 since we did this. I wish you strength. A quick blast about the upcoming game against Orlando, your hometown in MLS playoffs, coming up this weekend for the will not quit Atlanta United under the great leadership of one Bradley Guzan. How are we feeling?
Great. Excellent. We know it's going to be a different series, different game. It's a one-off game, first of all. Yeah, it's a one-off. It's a one-off game. If you get the feeling you want to say series after 3 games against the same team, but this one's one game. We're confident. We know we're playing well, but we also have a lot of respect for Orlando, and I have the ultimate respect for Oscar Pareja and the coach that he is, and the man that he is, and everything that he's accomplished down there in Orlando. It's a fortress down there, man. It's hard to go down there and play there. The fans, they are great, and they have a particular interest in giving the hometown boy as much crap as they possibly can. So always intimidating to go down there, but you want to play in big games. You want to play in great stadiums with passionate fans, and Orlando has that. So I think it's going to be a wonderful game, and I hope you watch, Raj.
God, I will definitely be. I love watching you play football. I love the spirit.
Not many moments coming up. So,
and I never take a single one for granted. Honestly, you are life incarnate itself. Whether you play Orlando, I'll be watching. Also, I'll be this Thursday in Kansas City with Orlando Pride and Washington Spirit 2 nights before the NWSL final. We're doing a live show. Quick reminder, we're back tomorrow with a new episode of Running the Game. Our series that goes inside the mind of some of football's greatest human beings, leaders, to take a look at the professional football methodology, how it works from the boardrooms to the boot room. Tomorrow we're going to go deep with a fascinating human being, Columbus Crew's Wilfred Nancy, a gentleman who's a manager in MLS but is quite coveted by several Premier League teams. It was fascinating listening to him talk about leadership. Check back here in our pod and on our YouTube. Kansas City, as I said, we're coming for you. I think there's 2 tickets left for our live show. I'll be on stage Thursday night with my friend Sam Mewis at the Madrid Theatre. I can't wait to be with you, be with all of you raising a beer. We'll put the link in the chat right now and in the description of this podcast. Dax, you are an American original. You really are incredible human being, a poet, warrior, and I'm going to get this tattooed on my body somewhere. I don't know where. Brad Guzan, don't pillow fight.
Exactly. He don't.
I'm
going to see him tomorrow, and I'm going to tell him. That's our new catchphrase.
Please do me a favor. Let him know just how much I love him, because I think America needs a lot more Brad Guzan.
Rob, if I cut off your glasses from the glasses down, and I just look at the top. I feel like I'm looking at Brad right now. Actually.
And Brad Guzan's slightly older, less athletic brother. God, I know.
No, just a nice, smooth, bald head.
By the way, just so you know, Brad Guzan knows exactly how much I love him. He really, really does. This is Dax McCarty, your host of Major League Journeyman, with the quite iconic Alan Gordon and Dan Gorgan. Available wherever you get your
Gargan.
Wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, Dax.
Cheers, guys.
And to you, America, to a great 2025 to come. Let's go do it under Pochettino. I love you all. Go, 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 USA. Courage.